Hey, good evening from Kansas City. The columns, the stories, the grades, they're all in. It's time to talk about the Chiefs. And we're talking about the two-time AFC champion Chiefs tonight. Chiefs defeated the Buffalo Bills 38-24 in the AFC championship game. And we're going to talk about it with you. Send us your questions and comments. We will get to as many of them as we can. We are here with the guys who cover the Chiefs like nobody else. Sam Mellinger is here. Sam McDowell will soon be joined by Vahe Gorian and Herbie Teope. And guys, I've got on a legal pad, as I always do after the game, topics that we need to cover. Usually it's plays, players, that type of thing. But I wanted to start tonight by just discussing when the Chiefs are now going to the Super Bowl for a second consecutive season. I remember the day that Patrick Mahomes was introduced at the press conference over at the practice facility. I don't think I envisioned this type of success so quickly for the Chiefs. But once they realized what they had in Patrick Mahomes, I think the Chiefs, Brett Veach, Andy Reid, the Brain Trust did what they could to put a team around Patrick Mahomes and then dream a little bit. And I think that we're realizing, and the team is realizing that dream. So Sam Mellinger, I don't know what you wrote about, but I know you're the big picture guy. So how about laying some big picture on us?
Yeah, man, this is what they envisioned, right? And I think that as soon as they made that pick that you just talked about in 2017, I think this was what was absolutely possible, but it happened so much faster than you would have expected. I think I saw a graphic on the broadcast that this is the first time a quarterback has ever played in three conference championship games before his 26th birthday. He's sort of like, and I was thinking about this. Am I right? Hopefully I am because I wrote it. But is Tom Brady the only quarterback who is just unquestionably more accomplished in his career than Patrick Mahomes?
Well,
Roethlisberger has 2 Super Bowls, no MVP.
Right.
Do you mean current quarterback?
Yeah, in the league right now.
Okay.
And
Rodgers has
3 years.
Rodgers has a Super Bowl victory and an MVP, and he's been to 4 other conference title games and can't seem to win one.
Yeah,
especially when they play at home, he can't seem to win one. But I hadn't thought about that, but yes.
it's pretty wild, man. And the guy is like, if you just look at normal quarterbacks and their career arc, he's approaching his prime. They're not supposed to be as good as they'll be already. And the other thing I thought about was the Chiefs just feel inevitable in a very different way than they used to. Because I remember sitting in this very press box 3 years ago, whatever it was, and Blair, as soon as Marcus Mariota threw that touchdown pass to himself, me and you looked at each other like, oh.
I remember the question was, who would you rather be right now, the Chiefs or the Titans? And the Chiefs still had like an 11-point lead at the time.
Yes, and now they feel inevitable in the opposite way. This is, 3 out of the last 4 playoff games where they've been down 2 scores. Mm-hmm. And the Houston one, I thought, ooh, that's a little, 24. That's a big number, but that's the only one that just sort of like made me flinch or whatever. It's a remarkable thing to watch. It really is. I think this is once in a generation stuff, and this is the team of the next decade.
It's the best of times, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Sam McDowell, there's so many different ways to go on this, but let's continue talking Patrick Mahomes. I think we all believed that he was going to play this week. In fact, Melly laughed at us for even suggesting that he might not play around midweek. But he was, he's had great games. This may have been his best playoff game. From the regular season meeting where the Chiefs ran all over the Bills took that away to a large extent tonight. So. I thought it would have been a better idea for Buffalo to defend Travis Kelce at some point. They didn't seem terribly interested in that, and Kelce and Tyreek Hill were just phenomenal again.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of what Sam said. Well, to add one thing about that Marcus Mariota game, I remember I turned to Sam before the game even started, and I said, now, of all their playoff losses, like this would be the worst one, right? Like this is the one they're favored by the most points. Like this would be the worst home loss. And of course, they lose that game. But it's just amazing how much one player can have such an amazing effect on a sport in which 22 guys start. Yeah. And I know that Andy Reid's done a lot. I know that Brett Veach has done a lot. But those guys were here before Patrick Mahomes, and the playoff streak continued. And so from 25 years without a home playoff win to a guy that's now won 5 times at home, and also won once, of course, in Miami Gardens last year. It's just such a transformation. And like I said, you've got to give a lot of people credit for it. But what's the percentage of credit Patrick Mahomes deserves for this? I mean, it's at least half, right? I mean, that they weren't able to do this before this guy got here. And the whole fan base has gone from what is going to go wrong to, oh, it's no big deal if something does go wrong. And just, it's incredible, especially growing up here. I experienced that. Several of my friends still root for the Chiefs, and just the feeling and emotion that's different because this guy's here is just remarkable.
Yeah, the best description I've heard of him, and this is one that's used inside the organization, is he's a force multiplier. Like, because the Chiefs were a good team. This is not like the 0-16 Lions that win it. I mean, they were in the playoffs 4 out of 5, 5 out of 6, whatever it was, years before he took a snap as QB1. But God, I mean, once you have that guy, everybody else just becomes better at their job. Because he opens up so many possibilities. Offensive linemen, their mistakes are covered up. Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill's strengths are amplified. The defense can play different. I mean, it just goes on and on. Marketing, business, everybody. And that's the thing that they've had. That's the thing that they have right now that 31 other teams would love to have themselves. And one of those 31 can have some replica of it with a trade for Deshaun Watson sometime this offseason. Right?
That's right. Barbara Hedrick reminds us it's time to put away the bad old days stories. We're living in these new wondrous times, and they are kind of wondrous, right? I mean, 50 years without a Super Bowl, and then back-to-back Super Bowl appearances for the Chiefs. Okay, let's.
Blair, I think that's a good thing because I wondered that while I wrote today, because I wrote in reference, just a couple paragraphs, but still just how bad it used to be. And I'm wondering at what point do we sort of move on from that? And then I decided, for those of us that wrote about the teams beforehand or were here in Kansas City, I decided never is a time to stop mentioning how bad it once was before this guy got here.
Never forget.
If seriously though, if it's 15 years from now and this guy's won 5 Super Bowls, I still think it's like, hey, by the way, before this guy got here.
Right. Remember when Eric Fisher was called for holding against the Steelers?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll always have that. So, okay, but onward. And speaking of mistakes and things that could go wrong, there was a big one for the Chiefs early on tonight. And what did you guys? The Chiefs can't seem to go a game now without some sort of special teams bungle, right? It's missing an extra point, missing a short field goal, fumbling a punt return. There's just something, it seems like, every single game. And tonight, hey, Vahe Gregorian has joined us. So, Vahe, we're into the game now, and we've gotten up to the Bills' second possession. Chiefs held them. They're punting, and Chiefs are going to get the ball, and all's going to be well. But wait, there was a little bit of a delay in this because Mecole Hardman fumbles away a punt in which he wasn't hit. That's hard to do, I think. Catch it in the air, turn, or they just lost it. So the Bills go in for a short touchdown, and it's 9-0 because the Bills missed the extra point. What's the level of concern for the Chiefs at this point? Only a 3-point favorite. Playing with a quarterback that went 3 and out in the first series, has a turf toe, and Buffalo comes in 13-3 with a quarterback who we all respect. I'll start with you, Vahe. What was the level of concern when it was 9-0?
Well, I tell you what, Blair, I felt here in the auxiliary press box with you, I think there was a little bit of a like, whoa, we kind of looked at each other like, huh. But I think, and I bet you anything, I speak for everybody else on this call too. We've seen plenty out of this team that says others watching them might feel phased, but I don't think that's really indicative of their mindset at that point. And even with Patrick coming off of what he did, it's a very little thing in a way, but for him to throw that first deep pass on that first drive, basically 40 yards downfield on a dime to Tyreek Hill, I kind of felt like Patrick would be okay. And, it's a small sample set, but it was obviously pretty crucial. They went ahead and scored a touchdown right away, and then that kind of opened the floodgates. So, it's hard to feel like you just don't believe this anymore when they've won 25 out of the last 26 games Mahomes has started.
Yeah, but how about the whole pregame idea of they only win close games, right? The last 8 wins were by an average of 4 points, and it always came down to a final possession. Either in the case of the Falcons, they had to the automatic kicker has to miss a field goal, and in the case of the Dolphins and the Browns last week, they got to pick up a 4th and 1 near midfield, and were there. Did anybody have a premonition of a 2-score type of victory tonight? I was starting to hear that around town during the week, but I guess I wasn't willing to believe that it was going to happen. We hadn't seen an outcome like this for quite a while, but it does speak to the idea that the Chiefs they've won 14 regular season games, but they played the lowly Carolina Panthers, to a 2-point game, and then they go beat the New Orleans Saints by 3. They go beat Tampa Bay by 3. They just find a way to win games.
One quick thing I'll say, Blair, just to that is that it's a handy thing to have in your holster, so to speak. That you think you're going to pull out those close games if you're the Chiefs. You kind of did it in yet another way last week. But Sam Mellinger asked Andy about this the other day. Sam, I can't really remember how Andy answered it, but I think your premise was, well, doesn't this team find extra gears? Even tonight you were talking about that with Andy, but doesn't this team have a way of having another gear too? And the ability to win many different ways also includes, when you can exploit a team and when you're playing, each phase of the game, maybe you can do this.
You're muted, Sam.
Sorry, problems with the mute button. On brand. Not all like one-score wins are. What's that?
You said problems with the mute button. I said, yeah, whenever you click mute, it mutes.
Exactly. So, not all one-score wins are created equal, right? And so, the Falcons one, I think, was a concern, at least in my eyes. But the deal with, all those wins that's part of what I'm talking about with the inevitability of this team, because when they have the 4th and 1, or, when Tyrann Mathieu needs to make a play on the back end, or Chris Jones needs to, wreck a play by, destroying the right guard, they always do that. And I don't know how many times you can see the same thing and think it's luck. You know what I mean? At some point, that's just what they do. And, to blow out, it was 14 points. I don't know, kind of a borderline blowout. I don't think it was as close as 14, but to do that with what you said, like the muffed punt, Tyreek dropped a 40-yard pass, that led to a punt. Juan Thornhill dropped what would have been a really, really good interception, but still dropped it. Charvarius Ward dropped what would have been a less impressive interception. You know what I mean? They had these mistakes, and they still did this to the team that I think a lot of people thought was – one of the best 2, maybe 3 teams in the NFL. It's just that's the inevitability. They just have so many ways to do it. You kind of expect them to find one.
Well, and I think this was you, Sam, that asked Andy a question that got the answer that things got a little hay-wacky today.
First time I've heard that one.
Hadn't heard hay-wacky.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that one in your podcast later this week.
Right.
And I think in the same thought, it was like coaching the football team's like being a farmer. The work is never done.
I have heard that one a couple times, but
Yeah.
never hey wacky.
Well, I've never heard it from Andy, so I thought that was good. Herbie Teopia has joined us. Hey, Herbie.
Doggone it. What's going on?
What's up, man? Hey, while we got you, Herb, let's talk. Let's talk a couple of injuries really quick. Looks like L'Jarius Sneed in the concussion protocol, and what was the other one? I wrote it down. Oh, Armani Watts in the concussion protocol as well. But listen, 2 weeks they'll be fine for the Super Bowl. The real concern though is Eric Fisher, offensive tackle. I didn't, the replay showed it, but I couldn't tell how it happened. But the post-game thought now is an Achilles injury. Andy Reid didn't say tear, but he just suggested that we're not going to see Fisher in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he strongly hinted at when he basically said, hey, it doesn't look good. And you got to remember, Achilles injury sometimes doesn't even happen with contact, so that's always never a good thing. But yeah, with Fisher down, and the Chiefs were able to handle it. They moved Mike Remmers the versatile Mike Remmers from right tackle over to left tackle, and then they kicked Andrew Wiley out from right guard to right tackle and inserted Stefan Wisniewski in at right guard. And that's probably the lineup that you're going to see in the Super Bowl matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But Fisher is obviously the big injury from today.
He did. Adam Teicher from ESPN did ask him after the game if it was a tear, and he said yes. That's the way it looks right now.
Yeah.
But the one thing about Eric Fisher, and we've talked about it on this program, the Chiefs are 25-1 over the past 2 years with Eric Fisher in the lineup. I mean, it's not a guy they can't win without, but it's certainly not a small absence if they've got to play. Obviously, they're already playing without their best tackle. They're playing, the strength of their offensive line is the guys on the outside, and if they're missing both of those guys, like those are some pretty big absences for the Super Bowl, especially against Tampa's defensive line. Tampa's, we talked about this week as well. Buffalo's defensive line was the weakness of this defense, and it showed up tonight as a weakness of the defense. Tampa's not built that same way, and if they can get pressure with 4, we've talked about it several times, that's sort of the way you can disrupt this offense.
Larry Looper informs us that he has smoked Haywacky, so that's good to know. And Cody and Drizzy says, here's to me not getting the stomach flu for the Super Bowl day this year, but if it means winning it, I'll take one for the team. That a guy. There you go. Good job, Cody. Absolutely, you will. So, all right, let's. I want to talk about the defense a little bit. Again, we probably don't say enough about it, talk enough about it, but I just think that side of the ball has been really, really good. And it was Jim Nantz that said it. I didn't realize until he said it during the broadcast. The Bills scored the first 9 and the final 9 points of the game, and in between, the Chiefs outscored them 38-6. So that strikes me as a nice little center of the game production for the Chiefs. But a lot of that was the Chiefs came into the game last in the NFL or during the regular season in red zone defense, and the Bills scored 2 touchdowns on 5 trips into the red zone today. Had a couple of field goals, got the interception. So I thought it was an aggressive defensive game plan that I have seen from Steve Spagnuolo. Herbie, did you see the same thing?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing that really jumped out to me here was they took away Stefan Diggs. Okay, and Diggs at one point in the second half just had 2 catches for 12 yards on 5 targets. Now, granted, when the Bills started going into hurry-up mode, he started padding those stats. But the fact they took away him and Cole Beasley, they befuddled the heck out of Josh Allen. 4 sacks, 10 quarterback hits on the game. Frank Clark accounted for 2 of those sacks. Yeah, they got after him. And all the credit to Steve Spagnuolo, who made the adjustment after the Bills jumped out 9-0. And you got to remember, the Bills, throughout the first quarter, they were utilizing an up-tempo offense. But Spagnuolo adjusted to it, and you saw what happened. The end results there.
I like how the pressure came from the outside too. I think they were trying to funnel Josh Allen to the middle of the field, not let him get outside with his legs. And So that's why you saw L'Jarius Sneed, blitz from the outside, and Tyrann Mathieu. Sorensen came up the middle one time, but for the most part, when the Chiefs blitzed, it came from the outside, and it was really effective. Look, Allen ended up with 88 rushing yards and 280 passing yards, but a decent chunk of that came after the Chiefs had the significant lead. So I just thought when the game mattered the most, the Chiefs defense was really good again. And I don't know about you guys, but I think this is a defense capable of helping the team win the Super Bowl. Chiefs aren't going to have to go to Tampa hoping to outscore Tampa Bay. I think their defense can make plays, and I loved what Tyrann Mathieu said after the game. He was taking the day off. It's just a day off for him. He's let all the other guys in their man coverage do the work, and he just sat back there. And obviously not true, but I don't know. We don't talk enough about Steve Spagnuolo in this defense. Have I got an amen for that?
You did.
Yeah,
you did.
Boy, I think one of the interesting elements of this game was I thought they would have to potentially put a quarterback spy on Josh Allen, just because of the way he's able to run the ball. And instead, it seemed like it. Of course, you got to watch the tape, but it seemed like rather than put a quarterback spy on him, they blitzed that guy pretty consistently. And maybe the tape told them that Josh Allen consistently runs one way or the other. We saw that with Kyler Murray late in the season. They constantly blitzed him from his throwing side because that's the way he liked to scramble. Maybe the tape told them that as well. I mean, I know Josh Allen got loose a couple of times, but not consistently enough to where it made you worry about bringing that extra rusher. And so they just were bringing the extra rusher constantly today. And I thought the game plan was terrific. The defense was really good, like you said, but I think it was a result of the game plan they had against them.
And we talked about this a little bit, but it really stood out the effectiveness of blitzing defensive backs in particular. Corners come in, and I also thought, and we've probably alluded to this a little bit, but the coverage was so good. Man coverage was so good in particular, even when Allen had a lot of time. There were a couple of times. Remember that? I can't remember who caught it, but it was with Ben Neiman, all over the guy for like 8 seconds, and it's kind of like can't put it there. But I just thought they were Velcro to these guys for the most part.
That's 2 weeks in a row. The coverage was great last week against the Browns as well.
Well, and now, they play 2 playoff games against quarterbacks that use their legs, and now they're going to play a third one against a quarterback that really doesn't, and not at his age anyway. So that'll we'll see how that changes the game plan for the Chiefs. I think the game film, even though he didn't have great stats, is going to be really kind to Chris Jones. That guy was putting pressure. A lot of times when you saw Josh Allen backpedaling, it's because 95 was bearing down on him, and he didn't get a sack, but I think he impacted the game in a big way. And a few of our viewers noticed the swing that he took at Josh Allen, and could he get in some trouble for that? I don't know. I don't know how that works. I guess you can get fined without being penalized, can't you, Herbie?
Yep, you absolutely can. You absolutely can, and they're going to take a look at it because it's a quarterback. So yeah, you'll have to wait and see if the NFL decides that's fine worthy.
Well, he took the punch at an offensive lineman, right, in the first half.
Yeah.
But Sorensen got fined last week, so that's your perfect example for that helmet to helmet hit, and obviously he did not get penalized for that against the Browns.
Yeah, but he did that against a wide receiver. Again, we're talking about a quarterback. This is a completely different animal, so the league will take a look at that.
Yeah, but it was. I think Sam's right. There was a swing to an offensive lineman in the first half, and then he was. I don't know how much he was in the scrum in the second half toward the end of the game when Alex Okafor, I thought, made a really poor decision. With after Passanio had the sack, or they whistled the play dead, Okafor didn't stop. So that'll be interesting. It'll be something to keep an eye on. I guess that kind of thing comes out later in the week, doesn't it, Herbie? The fines, the decisions on those types of things. So
yeah, the league will levy those fines. Usually, players will be notified Thursday, Friday, and then they'll announce it on Saturdays.
Right. Hey, Jordan Tribe asks a good question. Did we notice any moments where Mahomes' turf toe was an issue. Hey, what do you think? I know you wrote about Mahomes. What I
didn't think so. It looked like he was mobile. I guess we got that little glimpse on TV, and we didn't really get to ask him about it after the game. It was pretty abbreviated, but of the turf toe shoes that he was wearing, I didn't really know how those were treated differently. Andy Reid didn't say this before today, but he spoke tonight about calling that toe an amazing thing to see, I think was how he put it, for how black and blue it was. And evidently the treatment for that was pretty good. It seemed, from what we're told anyway, that the swelling was reduced quite dramatically. I don't know what turf toe treatments really entail. It seems like that could be a real nagging problem. But Patrick sure seemed pretty mobile, a little too mobile for my comfort a time or two. There was one play where I think Blair, we were watching here together, but he's cutting it back into the field when he should have just gone down. It's like, what are you doing? I think I wonder if anybody else wanted them to run that option though early, just to absolutely make people's heads explode.
The cut back into the field too was just to give him another chance at just the most awkward slide in the NFL. He just kind of like that one. It wasn't even a slide. He just kind of like sat down. Guy can do everything on the field except for that.
Yeah, and I believe Andy Reid in the postgame called it swollen and black and blue after the game, and he was in a lot of pain on Sunday and Monday of this past week. Listen, we didn't get a chance to explore this topic further, and it wasn't necessary because of the because of the updates we were getting throughout the week. But didn't you guys get the feeling that Mahomes was never not going to play? I mean, I think they knew that as early as Monday, but they said nothing that was said by the Chiefs was inaccurate. Still in the concussion protocol, still was limited in practice. Couldn't take all the snap, didn't take all the snaps. So again, I refer to Sam's chortle at midweek chortle on this.
I love the fact that on Friday, he's in the concussion protocol. Then less than 12 minutes later, Mahomes comes out. I'm not in the protocol anymore. I love that. I just love that.
He physically took himself out of the protocol.
I love the fact that attending physician Tyrann Mathieu had it assessed last Sunday with the. I could tell by the look in his eye. That was kind of a great way to put it, because I was sort of wondering what the look in his eye might have said to others.
Yeah, he said the look in his eye was like, "Don't forget about me," and that has never been a problem with any of us on Patrick Mahomes.
All right. Does anybody have any memories of the Tampa Bay regular season game? And so let's just have a quick first impression of the Super Bowl matchup. Herbie, let's start with you.
They better. Hopefully, they know how to cover Tyreek Hill now. That's the only thing I got for you from that game. Goodness gracious, Tyreek Hill had himself a game or a first quarter, whatever you want to say. But hopefully, I can't remember that cornerback's name now.
Carlton Davis.
It's Carlton Davis. And if Blair's asking if anybody has memories of that game, I guarantee you Carlton Davis has memories of that game.
Yeah, hopefully they have a plan for him, or Hill's just going to go berserk again. I'm sure all of us watched a lot of that Green Bay game today. They had him one-on-one with Devontae Adams a lot today. So I don't know. I mean, the strategy with Mahomes is not to leave just a single safety up top or to leave guys one-on-one, and they did it a lot today. And Todd Bowles likes to play that style of defense, and he's either going to have to adjust to Mahomes, or I think Mahomes is going to tear him up again, just like he did. And what was that, like week 10, 11?
Maybe week 12.
Week 12.
Yeah. The issue they're going to have with that, though, excuse me, is presumably without either of their tackles, that's a really good group of pass rushers that's hard for anybody to block. And the Chiefs are going to be missing not just the two tackles, but I think we'd all agree the Chiefs' best offensive linemen, their two best offensive linemen. are those two. That's they're gonna have to figure something out there.
Yeah, they are. I was a little surprised the Bucs won today. I thought the Packers would have they certainly had the revenge motive, and that touchdown the Tampa Bay scored just before halftime was such a killer for the Packers, and I was looking forward to just a Rodgers Mahomes game, but Brady Mahomes that hasn't disappointed in any of the in any of the times that they've matched up. What's they even with each other? Yeah, the win this year made it 2-2, I think, in the head-to-head.
I think 2-2, and is it right, Blair? That is Brady the only quarterback that's beaten Patrick Mahomes twice?
He is. Yep. Yes, he is. So, all right, guys. Well, we're going to have plenty to talk about with the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. And I don't know when the next one of these shows will drop, but we'll let you know when that happens. We've got we still have some work to do here before we all get out of here. So thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. And thanks to Sam Mellinger, Vahe Gregorian, Sam McDowell, Herbie Tiopi, and Beth Welsh, our producer. We will talk to you soon, and we will talk to you often over the next 2 weeks. Good night, everybody.